live. I just wanted to come on for a few minutes to talk about what I saw this morning. I saw an interview between Matt Lauer from NBC and our illustrious Vice President Mike Pence. And what I saw was a joke. That's what I saw. Because this is the same old thing that's going on with the media. They're trying to create a negative impression of Donald Trump. No matter what he does, it doesn't matter. He could do anything. He gave the world. He could cure cancer. He could do whatever he could do that would make the world a better place, and they would find someone with it. For instance, if you cancer, they would say, "Oh man, you didn't cure it fast enough. So many, millions of people died. Why didn't you cure it earlier?" I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we have to deal with the media when it comes to Donald Trump. Just want to make a few comments about what I heard this morning on NBC News with Matt Lauer, the Today Show. And he was in the White House talking to Vice President Mike Pence. And, of course, the first subject they got on was the speech last night, the press conference there, or not conference, it was a speech by President Trump on the state of affairs in Afghanistan and the changing American policy on the war there in Afghanistan, how we're going to prosecute this war going forward in this entire situation there. And I thought a very good speech by Donald Trump. He outlined, generally, he gave us a general framework of what he wanted to do that was different than what we have been doing in the past, including the Bush administration's policies and the Obama doctrine. I thought it was very well laid out. He did highlight the differences in what we're doing now as opposed to what we were doing before. And I like the fact that he came right out and admitted that his thoughts before the election and before his presidency were wrong. He was thinking of an immediate pullout. He wanted to get out as soon as he possibly could. Well, as it turns out, he probably should have thought that through a little bit better, and he realized after a full examination with all the top experts in the field, all of his generals and everyone involved, he determined that the best action would be to have victory instead of, he called a continued nation building process. I know that George Bush had followed the nation building concept to try to turn Afghanistan into a democratic nation, a nation that was more based in freedom, kind of westernize it. The problem is that in that region, it's very difficult to do that. I don't know if it's possible in the short term, especially, but long term, who knows? I mean, maybe, but we don't have time for that right now. We have to do it the way we think it's going to work the best for us. And I liked how he outlined it. Victory was key. Victory was the number one thing that he wanted. Let's get this thing done right. Let's stop ISIS. Let's give some stability and a little bit of autonomy. If they have to have some kind of autocracy there, we're not going to stop that. This is the way they've been doing things for thousands of years. Like many have said, since Bible times, since the Bible days, they've had a lot of theocracies in the Middle East, in that region, and in Asia there. So it's you're not going to really mess with that too much, but we can at least get a little bit of more stability and get rid of those really bad elements like ISIS and the Taliban and those kind of things. We can win there, and that's what I'm trying to say. Now he also outlined a very specific and important difference between what he wants to do now and is going to be doing, what Obama had doing the last 8 years, and that is having a specific timetable. He was talking about the big timetables that Obama had set. I think even George Bush had kind of a timetable set up, and it's really not a good idea. I mean, you don't tell your enemies, if you think about it, you don't tell your enemies what you're going to be doing. Hey Al, how you doing? Out there, thank you so much for joining me. I wanted to say though that, if you don't ever tell your enemies what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. That just doesn't make any sense. Obama, I know he had announced, well, we're going to go now, we're going to leave on blah blah. He gave a specific date when we're going to be exiting, those regions. He did it in Iraq, and he gave a lot of other specific timetables here in Afghanistan. And I thought that was ever give, you do, just as Trump had said, you don't embolden your enemies and strengthen their resolve. If you tell them what you're going to do, it's easy for them to skirt around it and find ways to adjust to it and to actually defeat you. They can beat you that way. So I like the fact that Trump said, look, we're not going to set a timetable. We're going to do things on what we determine to be true, what we find out on the ground. When we go there and we find out what's going on, we're going to adjust our strategy accordingly based on what's happening there on the ground, what's going on. And I think that's a fantastic strategy. We should have been doing that from the beginning. But then we've got detractors. They say, well, they don't like that. I don't know why they don't like it. Why would you give your enemy information like that? And so we go back to this interview with Lauer this morning with Vice President Pence. Matt Lauer criticized that very thing. He was talking about one of the first things he said to Pence was, why would he eliminate this timetable issue? Why would he talk about that? And I just thought that was kind of, really, Matt, you don't understand that whenever you give information to your enemies that helps them, you never do that. That's just not a good idea, Unless you want to give your enemies leading information, that's a little different. However, then Matt Lauer goes into the idea that, which I thought was totally sensible because we just established it was different, that the policies were different. But for some reason, Matt Lauer wanted to quote Breitbart. Somebody at Breitbart, I don't know if it was an article or somebody at Breitbart had said that Trump's policies were really not any different than Obama's policies. And I thought, didn't anybody watch that speech last night? Because you obviously did see the differences. The biggest difference, of course, being timetables. Instead of setting timetables, we're going to set victory tables. It was more important to the Trump administration at this point than anything else. And so he said, we're going to get rid of the timetable strategy, and we're going to stop telling our enemies what we're doing. We're not going to talk about specific things. You're going to ask me questions about it? That's not on the table. We will not answer your questions because we have to win here. It's just a police investigation. Oftentimes when police are conducting an investigation, they're not going to tell the public or the media, anyone, specifically what they have found out. Maybe some things they may be able to, but for the most part, they don't tell you everything because the minute they release that information, that gives any criminals, anyone involved in the investigation, any such, it gives them the ability to understand where police are going with this, and they can actually they can find a way to avoid being captured or avoid prosecution for that matter. They can win the case over the investigation. So they have to. Sometimes you can't say everything. You just can't. So I thought that was kind of funny that Matt Lauer would ask these questions. All of this was everything Matt Lauer was asking was either to trip up the president to make him look bad. In other words, another media hit job, which I think it is, or Matt Lauer was really that ignorant. I don't know. I would think, being a newsman, somebody that's involved with the media in such a prominent role as Matt Lauer, that I would tend to think that he's not that stupid. Am I wrong? I don't know. I'll say something else. The next thing that Lauer went into, which I don't know, I guess anything's appropriate nowadays, but it was kind of inappropriate, I thought, to start asking Vice President Pence about the Charlottesville incident once again and Trump's response to it. He launched right back into it. It's like they can't give up on stuff. They got to keep attacking instead of getting things right. So what does he do? He asks Vice President Pence about Trump's response, about how he was protecting the Nazis and the white supremacists, asking them, saying that, there were good people on both sides and bad people on both sides. Now, we know that to be a fact. We know, because we figure this out now through video footage and all these different things, we know that not everyone at that protest who was protesting the takedown of that statue, the removal of the statue, not all of those were neo-Nazis and white supremacists and white nationalists. We also know that some of them were simply conservatives who believe in free speech rights and the right for history to be displayed openly, even if it's an ugly history. We have the right to that in this country, to know the truth and see it on display, even if it's ugliness. So I wanted to get that out, that, we know this. We know that, and then of course we know on the other left-wing protesters that were there, not all of them were Antifa communists who were trying to cause problems. Some of them were just good people, just like Trump said. They were good people who just didn't agree with the protest. That's fine. As long as they were protesting the protest, I see nothing wrong with that. I don't think anybody should. But now we got to get into this. Yes, there were bad people on both sides as well. We had Nazis and we had communists on the other side fighting each other, and they were getting violent. Both of them were getting violent. So we know that. But Matt Lauer asks the question as if the American public is completely ignorant of the truth. Matt Lauer asks Pence, with the false equivalency, why was he saying that both sides were to blame and both sides were causing problems when, he didn't, in other words, he wasn't attacking the Nazis. And we know that he did. He already denounced the Nazis. We know this for a fact. He said it several times. And all he was saying is there were good people there as well as Nazis. There were good people as well, and there were good people on the left. As well as the communist attackers, violent attackers, you had left-wing people, you had Democrats who were good people who were protesting as well. And so we know this, and this is what Trump was saying. Matt Lauer had to bring up this false equivalent argument, which is a lie. That's not even true. There is no false equivalency. Okay. The bottom line is, that it was like this. He tried to say that we were trying to be more equivalent, to put a moral equivalency on these Nazis versus the Antifas, the anti-protesters, as it were. What Matt Lauer was trying to say there, in other words, trying to fool America, he was trying to say that the Nazis, were worse than the Antifa communists. And that's simply not true. They're both bad. Communist, or you are a Nazi, you're bad. You shouldn't be believing in those things. They're very authoritarian and dangerous belief system of them. I don't care what you think or anyone thinks. It's a fact. Communism is every bit as bad as Nazism. They're both left-wing philosophies based on what? A strong central government that tries to use violence and, overbearing control to keep control over a population. That's exactly what it is, both of them. So this is what Lauer was trying to do. He was trying to create this false moral equivalency. He was trying to say that, you said the Nazis were bad, but then you said the Antifas were bad. These left-wingers were bad, so therefore you created a moral equivalency that's not right. That's really what he was trying to say. Trump really wasn't even saying that those were the only two groups involved. Trump said there were good people on both sides. And so it was like a double lie that Matt Lauer was trying to bring out there. He was trying to say, no, there were no good people on the right side there doing that protest. They were all bad. They were all Nazis. They were all white supremacists. And that's simply not true. We know that to be true. Okay, but even if it were true, let's say for the sake of argument that all the people protesting on the right side were all, first of all, they wouldn't be on the right, because again, Nazism is right wing, it's left wing. But for the sake of argument, this is what they try to say. Let's say people that were protesting that statue's removal were all a bunch of left-wing Nazis and white supremacists trying to cause problems. They were all. Now we know that's not true, but if it were, we still had the other side, and the other side had in its ranks left-wing Antifas, which are violent left-wing protesters attacking the Nazis, going after the Nazis and beating them with clubs, pepper spray, feces, and urine in bags. We know this to be true because we have video footage of it. But what I'm trying to say is, all that was a lie by Matt Lauer. He was trying to create this fear that made Trump look bad. To say, hey, why are you trying to create this moral equivalency between the two? It's not even the same. But it is the same. Yes, a moral equivalency. They were both equally bad. If you're a Nazi, you believe bad things. You shouldn't be that way. If you're a communist and part of the Antifa movement, which again is dangerous and very bad, then you don't belong doing. It's a bad thing. So there is a moral equivalency, and Matt Lauer needs to know it. That there is a moral equivalency. That's a fact. And of course, the worst part was that I don't think Mike Pence answered the question properly. Mike Pence did it right. He didn't say what I just said. He didn't say, wait a minute, Matt, there is no moral equivalency here. I mean, there is a moral equivalency. There is no lie about that. Trump was right. He was correct in saying that, first of all, there were good people on both sides, and there were bad people on both sides. Again, Matt Lauer was trying to say, oh no, there are only bad people on this other side that were protesting the removal of the statue. The Nazis and the white supremacists. That's all that was there. That's all that people. There were no good people on that side at all protesting that. It was all Nazis and all white supremacists. They were all the troublemakers, and everybody on the left that came in to protest it, they were all good. Those were all good people. And we're not going to just go by. But Mike Pence, he's a good guy. He said a lot of good things, but he failed there. He didn't really hold Matt Lauer to the fire. And I wish that they would. I wish that Matt Lauer could actually have an opportunity to talk to Donald Trump, because I tell you right now, Trump would have never let him say that. Trump would have said, "You talking about? There was a moral equivalent. There were people on both sides as well as good, and you have to hold the left accountable. You have to hold these Antifas and these bad people accountable for what they did. You can't just say that it was all, on that side, on one side. You can't do that, Matt. You just can't do it." So it really bothered me. It really bothered me to see that we still have this argument. Matt Lauer know better, and I don't know why. Can you please help me with that? Help me understand why Matt Lauer tries to build this false argument. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me, and people still buy into this, and then they try to use it. It's so predictable. These media people try to use conservative websites and conservative think tanks, against conservatives and against the right wing. Try to use, for instance, Matt Lauer once again used Breitbart. Somebody in Breitbart who said, well, Trump really didn't seem to have a policy any different than Obama's policy in Afghanistan, which, again, we proved false. That's not even a true statement. I don't know who it was at Breitbart that said that, or was trying to create that equivalency, but I mean it's totally false. But this is what they try to do. They try to use, oh, your own article said that. You know what? There's a lot of articles. People are allowed to say what they want. Free speech applies to the media. If you want to say things that are not true, I don't care what side you're on. You're allowed to say it. I have no problem with that. But I just want to say that, anybody watching the news, I don't care left wing, right wing, whoever you are, you really need to start paying attention to what these people are saying, what the media members are saying in interviews just right on camera directly to you. A lot of times they create these lies. They create these circumstances and these moments where they try to trip you up. They try to make you believe that what is happening, what you're hearing, is something different, than what is really being heard. When Donald Trump said that there was people on both sides, he was not wrong. He was correct. Just as anyway, if you go to any protest, you're going to find good people there. Even if their ideas are misguided, you're going to find good people there. And on token, there's going to be a few bad people too. On both sides. It doesn't matter where you go. And that's true. If you go to a job, how many coworkers do you have? That's a bad guy, that's a good guy, that one I can trust, that one I can't trust. It's the same way in any group. You go to any party, Republican Party, there's a lot of good people in those parties, but there's also some bad ones. And Democrat. That's just the way it is. Or any other party, any other group, any faction, any group that you're involved in, there's going to be good and bad people. That's just the way it is. So that when somebody like Matt Lauer gets on TV and starts making these arguments and trip people up, he tries to set the narrative. And I understand that an interviewer wants to set up a good line of questions and get answers. And sometimes they got to kind of, set the groundwork and ask questions that are not comfortable. And, obviously, they're not, they're journalists. They want ratings. They want their respondents there, the people they're interviewing, to answer hard questions sometimes. But you really have to, ask the right questions. You can't lie. You can't create a false narrative to try to trip somebody up, to make somebody look bad. And that's exactly what Matt Lauer was doing. And he was trying to make, the bottom line, he's trying to make Donald Trump look bad and the Trump presidency look like a joke. Like, oh, this guy don't know what he's doing. He's saying he's lying, blah, blah, blah. Look, Donald Trump told the truth when he was talking about Charlottesville. He said the right things. And that's the bottom line. The media can't lie about it. I mean, it's fun of the media when he immediately talked about Charlottesville, on the day of Charlottesville, he made comments about it. It wasn't good enough. Oh, he didn't condemn the Nazis enough. And then he turns around and uses the Nazis again on Monday. And what do they say? Oh, no, too late. Too late. You should have done that on Saturday. Nah, sorry. And then when there's good and bad on both sides, they went, they erupted. It was a cacophony of just, ignorance and ridiculousness. I couldn't even believe the media. But see, a lot of people buy into it. Trump was a Nazi sympathizer. Really? Condemned them. What more do you need? And then I gotta say, because this was just amazing. Matt Lauer was talking about how I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, David Duke. How David Duke praised Donald Trump after Donald Trump's speech about Charlottesville. And that means that apparently, because David Duke praised him, that must mean that Trump was appeasing the Nazis. No, what David Duke did was to try to get some air. David Duke basically took anything that Trump said and used it to his own advantage. Just because Trump said it was on both sides, immediately David, look, it was both sides. Oh, that was good news. Trump was not trying to appease David Duke. He wasn't doing anything for David Duke. David Duke took whatever information They cherry-picked information, just as the media does with Donald Trump. They're doing it on the other side, though. They cherry-pick information to try to hurt Donald Trump. The media goes after Donald Trump for something he doesn't or doesn't say in the time they want him to say it. So it's true of them. They cherry-picked Donald Trump in a bad way, in the bad things, and so did Duke. He took anything that Donald Trump said and tried to make a positive out of it. And the bottom line is, there's nothing Donald Trump said that made the Nazis look good. Nothing. You can't find anything. What did Donald say that made the Nazis look good? I want you to answer that question for me. When you see this video, go ahead and answer that question. What did Trump say to make Nazis and white supremacists look good? Because there was nothing that he said. Nothing at all that he said that made them look good. At all. I'm sorry, but you found it. But Matt Lauer said he found it. Matt Lauer criticized Trump for saying anything. He criticized Trump for something he didn't even say. He criticized Trump for something that David Duke said. It doesn't make any sense, because there was nothing that David Duke said that you could tie back to Trump. That Trump said Nazis were awesome. He never said that. He never gave the Nazis a pass in any way at all. So, I don't know. I just don't get it. Anyway, guys, I gotta go, but thank you so much for listening. And just remember, be careful when you listen to the media. Don't believe everything they say. Their agenda now is to destroy what they're trying to do. That's the bottom line. They're trying to get rid of Trump and make him look bad. That's I don't care what anybody says. That's what the truth is. Be careful with the media. Pay attention to what they say. And if you have any questions about the media, I'll straighten it out for you. You come to me and I'll get it to you. Ciao.